Why, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Comedy and Magic Podcast. I'm your host, John Marshall.
Yeah.
If you're new to the channel, please remember to like and subscribe. Go ahead and smack that bell to be notified of future upcoming episodes. Before I introduce my special guest, I would like to share with you a compilation showcasing the magical career of Lyn Dillies. Here we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, I would like to introduce to you Master Magician, Master Illusionist, the lovely Miss Lyn Dillies. Hey, Lyn, welcome to the show.
Hi, John. How are you?
Wonderful. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you.
So, where are you from, actually?
I am from Westport, Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. All right. So, how old were you when you first decided that you were going to get into magic?
I was 12 years old, quite young. Had no clue that I wanted to pursue magic before then. As a matter of fact, which is kind of interesting, is growing up, I was extremely shy, bullied, the typical, had hardly any friends. And when I was 8 years old, this magician came to my elementary school to put on a show. I was so nervous that he was going to pick me to go up on stage that I sank way down in my seat so he wouldn't see me. I missed the entire show. That's how much magic had an impact on me at 8 years old. Zero. And then fast forward to 12 when The Magician starring Bill Bixby was on TV, and I was really excited about that and had my dad bring me to a local magic shop and bought me some close-up tricks, and I was very diligent about practicing those tricks. My grandfather was a concert violinist, taught me how to play the violin, and taught me that if you want to be good at something, you have to practice really hard. And so I practiced the heck out of these tricks and put them in my pocket and brought them to school. And before I knew it, I was doing magic on the school bus, in the lunchroom, classroom, etc. And it was so empowering. And before I knew it, poof, my shyness started to disappear.
Well, I began to discover you back in, I want to say it was 95, 96. I was reading Genie magazines, and Mom, I had seen your face many times go across the headlines, and that must have been very exciting for you.
It was. It was very thrilling and validating as well. And yeah, very honored to have all those accolades.
What is it like for you when you walk out on stage?
It's like a roller coaster ride, you know. It's also because it's such an extreme adrenaline rush. It's like being shot out of a cannon. It really is. And you go through this show at a high rate of speed, and I don't leave anything on the stage. I just give it my all. And at the end of the show, I'm pretty spent, but it's that kind of thing where you can't wait to get back on stage again. It's a privilege, it's an honor. I have to pinch myself numerous times that I get to live my dream. I never take that for granted. I'm continually extremely appreciative of that I get to use my gift of magic to earn a living and really bring a lot of genuine joy to people. And it's
Absolutely.
a real thrill. And I'm extremely honored by that.
Well, I'm very honored to have you on the show. So, who were some of your biggest influences besides, of course, Bill Bixby?
Honestly, John, I had a lot of role models in my personal life, but professionally, really, I would say Doug Henning, without a doubt. I didn't have any formal training, self-taught, really. Made a lot of my own tricks back then. I tell the story in my show too. I would put these tricks in a cardboard box and actually walk around my neighborhood. I'd ring my neighbor's doorbell and ask if they wanted to see a show in their living room. I'd set up on a card table,
Wow.
do my little act, and pack up and move on to the next neighbor's house. It was just a couple of months ago that I stopped performing in the hood. But I also walked up and down the highways collecting aluminum cans to recycle to, turn in for money to buy some professional tricks when I started. So, but Doug Henning was a big influence on me to just, realize that it's really important to break down those barriers right away when you're performing. And you need to get the audience in the palm of your hand by a very inviting way, to again break down those walls and just let these folks know that, hey, we're just all here to have a good time together. And that really resonated with me. And that's just kind of who I am on stage, is just it's that fine balance between that bigger than life kind of image that people see. You kind of have to be, but then on the flip side of that, it's just, hey, we're all in this together and we're just going to have a great time, and have fun.
Absolutely. Man, it sounds like me and you went through a lot of the same things to get our very first tricks. And my dad, of course, gave me the lawnmower and said, if you want any more magic tricks, you're going to have to work for it. And I did. I literally spent weekends just to buy, one trick. But I took that very seriously. And it's interesting that you walked around your neighborhood with your board box of tricks.
Oh, I did. And when I finally earned enough money, and I would keep track of literally every dime or nickel that I would, put toward a trick. And the biggest one for me, my first real professional trick was it was the Grant headless box trick. I thought that was the coolest thing. And to purchase that, because it had to be ordered, this magic shop close to my town, didn't have a huge amount of inventory in stock. So, but I really wanted that trick. I had seen it advertised, and to purchase that trick and spend $65, John, I was so nervous that I passed out cold on the floor. No joke. Went down like a wet noodle. Yeah.
Man, my first trip to the magic shop, that was like a little kid in a candy store, but there were just so many wonderful illusions displayed. It was down in Los Angeles, the Magic Emporium on Ventura Boulevard. And they had a zigzag in there. They had the levitation table. I mean, the price tag on those things were like, okay, that's a little expensive for the showroom floor there. Maybe I'll try the little miniature finger zigzag or something. The Mark Wilson course in magic happened to be one of the biggest books in my library. I don't know if you've ever had a copy of that, but boy, that'll change your life even as an adult.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You didn't take like a Tannen's magic course or anything like spectacular like that?
No, no, I
I
didn't.
wish I
I
would have.
didn't. No. I mean, coincidentally, my great grandfather, Thomas Wyatt, was an amateur magician, passed away before I was born. He was a member of the New Bedford Magic Wand Club. And then later, when I started to really become more and more involved with magic, I became a member of the New Bedford Magic Wand Club. And coincidentally, one of the members of that club had been the magician that I saw when I was 8 years old. And he was friends with my great grandfather. It was fascinating. Armin Landry was his name, and he had this very booming voice. That's probably why I was so intimidated, 8 years old, sinking way down in my seat. But he was great, and he actually had a magic shop, and I would visit him quite frequently. And he had some really great props, some used equipment, and some that I purchased and used for a very long time. So he was wonderful.
So when you come out on stage, do you generally sometimes see like that little girl sinking down in her seat out there?
Oh, I do. I do. The audience doesn't know that, but she's there somewhere. And that's when I honestly have to, like I said before, pinch myself because I just cannot believe that here I am sometimes in front of thousands of people experiencing this, especially when I perform with a symphony orchestra, 85, 90 piece orchestra, and they're in back of me playing the classical music to accompany my magic. That's beyond exhilarating. It's
No, I can't even imagine that. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, it's something I'm
So
really proud of.
do you find yourself still touring with all the big boxes and everything, or are you starting to like pick and choose what you want to take anymore? Because it's just a hassle to carry all this stuff around. I mean, what is that experience like for you?
I am still carting around all that big equipment, and it's not easy. It's really challenging in this day and age, especially coming out of the pandemic, to keep it all going. I mean, as we all were pretty much shut down for almost 2 years. So
Oh yeah.
I'm in kind of a rebuilding phase. And, you know, in the midst of all these bigger shows with the big illusions, I've put together a solo show that I never really focused on during my career, that I can do without my big crew and my props and my huge truck that I own and drive, that I love to drive. But it's really become kind of an interesting part of my journey, John, to be honest with you, to take this on and look at this as a challenge and, you know, kind of use the same template that I use for my bigger show, how I look at it as a puzzle with all these different components, and how you kind of get the audience in the palm of your hand, how you're going to keep them in the palm of your hand, and then how you kind of have to wrap it up too at the same time. But this solo show is kind of neat because I get to be very personal with the audience and tell some stories and about my career, and really try to relate to them a lot, in their age group as well. Performing for a lot of seniors, which I really, really enjoy, to really touch them at this part of their journey and do material that resonates with them, that they can relate to. Is I look at it as a real honor to be able to do that for them, and it brings them so much joy. And for me right now, it's filling in the gaps between the bigger shows while that's still ramping up. But oh yeah, oh, I still do it. The 90-minute show, with about 12 illusions and a lot of choreography. And, I only leave the stage for probably about 30 seconds as part of one of the bits of one of the routines. And that's it. I'm on stage the whole time. It's not like I have a huge entourage of male dancers to come in and do a production number while I'm off stage. Not at all. I've got the male crew who I just adore. I love my team and my assistants so much. They're a big part of my life.
So what does it take to get employed by you?
Oh
I missed that wagon, doggone it.
boy, well, you sure have to be thin and flexible.
A lot younger, damn it.
Oh, come on, that's
Yeah.
just an illusion anyway, John.
Oh, I agree with that. So when the pandemic did hit, did you end up doing Zoom shows? I mean, I can't imagine you doing that, but
I did
uh,
not do Zoom shows. No, it was
just take that time to get to know yourself again, or
hmm, it was the most challenging time in my life. Yeah, I mean, right before the pandemic, I lost my mom. Then she was my
no.
world and my best friend, and we lived together. I took care of her 24/7, and that was a gaping hole in my life, and I didn't know how I would get through that. And then literally within a month, the pandemic happened. It felt like you're standing there and a trap door opens and you just keep falling and you don't know when you're going to hit the bottom. That's what it felt like. um, the most amazing thing happened. My cousin is the moderator of a local church, and during the pandemic, all these seniors who lived in this low income housing complex down the street from the church, they were in quarantine and needed food and toilet paper. My cousin had some toilet paper in storage and also had a little bit of money and had thought about either cooking some meals for them. The church has a great kitchen, or buying some food. And he's going through major health issues with fighting cancer. And I said, you can't be going into stores, buying food. So listen, I've got some time here, a lot of time. I'll go buy the food. So I did that. And one thing led to another. And long story short, we formed Dartmouth United Outreach, which was a food outreach resource for, it started out with senior citizens and then morphed into veterans and anybody in need of food. And I eventually became the volunteer director of this and was doing it full time. And then when we had access to the Boston Food Bank, I put my big touring truck, which is almost an 18-wheeler, back on the road and was picking up food every week and bringing it to the church and forming a whole team with volunteers. A lot of people had tons of time on their hands and wanted to do something that would be meaningful and help the community. And we had scouts, we had, elderly folks that needed something to do, have some kind of purpose. And I am still the director of the Dartmouth United Outreach, and we are now the biggest food resource in the south coast of Massachusetts. And yesterday, for example, we helped out 2,500 people that came through what we have. It's called a grab and go. People drive up in their cars, and we have 20 people, all volunteers, load their cars with food. So I'm very committed to this. It's become a big part of my life and literally a lifesaver to have this drive and purpose. And somehow, with all my magic skills, whether it's team building, whether it's being very detail oriented, whatever, I was driven, destined, whatever you want to call it, from the universe to do this. And it's like I say, become a part of my life, and I'm very appreciative of the opportunity to serve the community. So I'll just keep that going. And besides, of course, performing is my number one priority. But this is a close second.
Wow. I mean,
Yeah.
and a superhero cape. Man, I love it. That is, man, that's awesome.
Oh, thank
You
you.
know, you are a treasure. You
Thank
are
you.
definitely a treasure, man. That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
it's amazing. I mean, I that's something that I I again feel privileged to be part of, and try to lead the way for these people. And when I'm the check-in person, John. Besides coordinating a lot of stuff behind the scenes for this outreach, I like to check in with people, to sign them in with my clipboard. I go around and I can look at people in their cars and, look at them right in their eyes and see how they're doing, listen to them. They build up this trust, and everyone in that line has a story. There's a reason why they're there. And it's more than just the food. That's one layer of it, and when they look across at all these folks helping on their behalf, it's so heartwarming. It brings out the best of humanity. We're talking about multimillionaires helping out. We're talking about people that have been in the food line themselves. So it's just bringing people together. And then along the way, I realized that we are feeding people more than food. We're feeding them hope. And then I came up with this fundraiser with these lawn signs that we were selling that has just a basic green heart, because the town of Dartmouth, which is the neighboring town where I live, um, their color is green. So we just had a green heart with a lowercase font in the middle of it that says hope. And we sold these signs, and it just littered the whole community. It was so beautiful to drive around and see these hope signs on people's lawns, because that's what we provide to people, and it's just so nice because in this crazy world that we're living in, um, it's just so simple. You're just helping these people out, with all these people that I didn't know from a hole in the wall before all of this. And nobody talks about politics or religion or anything. Our common denominator is we're all there to just help people. It's just so
Yes.
basic but beautiful. So we just keep the magic going every single week.
So wow, I mean that's quite a story. So tell us a little bit about your previous presentation that you were doing, the Vote Magic.
So in 2008, we had a big presidential election gearing up, and I kept thinking of my dad, who I had lost a few years before that. And my dad was very instrumental in my career, my right arm. My dad loved politics, and he ran a lot of political campaigns, and obviously taught me about the importance of voting, and that every vote really matters. And I kept thinking about my dad and how excited he would have been about that particular election. And I had this brainstorm, John, of this massive illusion that I could perform that would basically deliver a visual message about the importance of voting. And it was going to be the production of the two live mascots out of thin air, a donkey and an elephant. I thought, wow, you know what? This could be part of something so much bigger than just the illusion. It could be a whole public service campaign. But this illusion would be the finale to it all. I'll create a voter rally, and we can have a town hall meeting, and any politician running for office can do a meet and greet with folks, and we can have veterans honored and patriotic music and all this. The illusion will be the finale, because I needed a reason for the illusion to happen and to have an audience present. We had about 1,000 people. And I called this whole initiative Your Vote is Magic, because I think that's really what my dad truly believed in his heart, that with the power of our vote, it really is magic. So it really took off. We had a lot of support from the community, not financial support, unfortunately, because 2008 is when the lovely, what was it, the recession hit. It was a tough time, financially. So I didn't really get any major backing, any sponsorships, so to speak. So I had to self-finance the whole thing. Fortunately, where I presented this at a local zoo, they had an elephant. I had already worked with two of their elephants with a history-making illusion back in 2000, which was really the biggest wow moment of my career so far. So I had experience working with one of their elephants. Problem was, they didn't have a donkey in their collection. Where the heck was I going to find a donkey? So I actually joined the Donkey Mule Society of New England and became a member and put the word out that I had this project and I needed a donkey. And this incredible lady from Dover, Massachusetts reached out to me, Judy Ballantyne, and she had a rescue donkey. And she said, you know, Lyn, why don't you come up here and meet this donkey? And if you guys click, she loved the whole concept of Your Vote is Magic. She said, you can borrow the donkey. I'm like, wow, okay. So I drove up there and met the donkey. His name was Abner. It was a beautiful donkey. And I thought, oh, he'll be the perfect representative for the Democratic Party. Perfect mascot. So anyway, we ended up bringing Abner in a horse trailer down to the zoo to meet Emily the elephant, to see how they would react to each other. If it was a negative reaction, then we couldn't pursue this with Abner. So fortunately, he came down, was a little timid, got him out of the horse trailer, had some treats and so forth, and it went pretty well. So we moved forward with it. And then Abner was sent off to Vermont for some professional training. A few months later, he came down to the zoo. He was at the zoo for about 3 months. And we kept working with him almost every day. And then the goal was to get Emily and Abner to be able to stand within 6 feet of each other. Because Your Vote is Magic is nonpartisan, it really dictated that both animals would magically appear at the same time. We didn't want one animal to appear first. That's really what I wanted to have happen. Have Abner appear first, repeat the illusion immediately, and then have the elephant appear. But we didn't want any negative fallout. Both animals had to appear standing next to each other. Not easy to get two different species of animals to be in a confined space. But at least I've proven that a Democrat and a Republican can get along in a confined space. So that was cool. This took months, and we had all kinds of prototypes of the illusion built and in their barns, and so that they could practice individually and get used to what would be happening with all the different facets of the illusion, whether it's things dropping or this or that, so they wouldn't be spooked. We had music played on a reel for them with all different noises to desensitize them to crowds cheering, thunderclaps, fireworks going off, all of this, again, to desensitize them. And then finally, one animal would be in, when I say close proximity, maybe, 20 feet away or walking by each other. And then when we felt more confident, then we would get them closer together. And one day I went to the zoo, went every day to check on the animals, but I'm there one day. I walk over and I see Emily and Abner with all the trainers within about 4 or 5 feet away from each other. And nobody wanted to blink or breathe. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, Abner sneezed. And then that made Emily react. And I swear she jumped like 2 feet in the air. And then her trunk went off and her ears are flapping, and then Abner got spooked and he bolted and took off in the zoo, running around. And it was funny, but it was sobering at the same time, because we said, wow, we didn't factor that sneeze in. That was totally random. That was going to be a nail biter, to see how it all went down. But we did it, and it went beautifully, flawlessly. It was incredible. So both animals pulled it off, and the crew and the trainers, and it was amazing. And the illusion then paved the way for my message to continue to basically teach young people about the importance of voting. So I wrote a book about it all, with an overview on voting history, and that transformed into a live assembly that I did with my magic combined with a PowerPoint, teaching young people why they should vote, how voting will impact their life, that they have a very important voice, and to use it wisely and be an educated, informed voter. And it even had video cameos of veterans talking to these kids directly about their sacrifice to our country to protect our everyday freedom. Of course, one of those freedoms is the right to vote. The women's suffrage movement's covered, etc. I mean, it went on and on. Very comprehensive. That went very well. And then enter pandemic, and I couldn't get into the schools. And I decided to tackle something that I had in my mind all along, was to create basically a video slash documentary of all the elements of the live assembly that would be used as a resource for schools, to hopefully distribute nationwide. That's what I'm up to right now. This video is now 40 minutes long, and again, has all of the ingredients of the live assembly. So that's what I'm trying to promote right now.
Man, what a big difference between working with a dove and a rabbit. You went right for the donkey and the elephant. That's pretty amazing. So that took a total of how many months to train these animals?
It must have taken, well, from start to finish, with engineering the illusion and everything that went into it, that was about a year. The animals, I want to say, probably about 6 months.
Wow, that's quite a production.
It really was.
How many times did you do this illusion? Once you
Once.
got the animals trained, just once? Oh, wow.
Well, yes, in front of a live audience. And it wasn't like, okay, guys, let's reset this and do it again. No, it was a one-shot deal.
Wow.
Yeah.
So do you feel that it's a challenge anymore to do school shows, considering all the hoops and things you must have to jump through to, I mean, is it more complicated to do school shows now after pandemic? I mean, obviously you probably have the vaccine or vaccinated and everything, and that's just, that's a rope I won't jump.
I have not really been doing a lot of school shows. Just one of these proms, that they had, the after prom party. We did that recently. They wanted to bring in my show as sort of the hook to keep the kids there, and that was interesting. I found that the now, a lot of variables, that particular experience, John, because you're talking about kids that have been in school all day, then they went to the prom, and they're there all night, and we performed at 4 a.m. with a 60-minute show. We must have done about 7 or 8 illusions. So that was a feat in itself, to keep that energy level up at 4 a.m. Plus, I had done a show the night before myself in Hartford, Connecticut, for a corporate group. But anyway, the kids were different. I felt like, there was some kind of a disconnect or something. I talked to some of the teachers who were chaperones, and they said, Lyn, the pandemic's done a number on the kids. They don't know how to behave, in an audience setting. This is a whole new thing for them. And they talked about social media having such a negative impact as well. So again, lots of variables, because apples and pears. You're talking about kids that have been, like I said, in school all day. They're tired, the excitement of the prom and all that. So if I did it in a normal setting during the school day for an assembly, I think it would have been different. But it was just, it was definitely different. It was kind of a strange experience, really. But then again, I was kind of half asleep at the same time, so it was challenging. But they were, it's hard to put my finger on it. But that's the reaction from the faculty was, they've gone through a tough time themselves. Yeah, we've been hit hard.
Sounds like your book would be very helpful to young people now.
It would.
How on earth can my younger viewers find your book, and what would you recommend?
Oh, well, they can certainly go to my website and purchase it there, which is magicoflyn.com. spelled out MAGICOF as in Frank, LYN.com. And it is available on Amazon as well. It's Your Vote is Magic, how a donkey, an elephant, and an illusionist are making voters appear. But it's Your Vote is Magic.
Magnificent. Lyn, if you could give any advice to an upcoming magician these days, what would it be?
Well, I would say you have to walk before you can run. You know, you really have to learn the basics in magic. There really are no shortcuts. Try to perform to as many people, different types of audiences as you can. And what I tell any kid these days is believe in the magic of yourself. Work hard.
Beautiful advice. Lyn, I thank you so much for joining me on the show. I hope it was as much fun for you as it was for me. I know I enjoyed it immensely.
Oh, thank you, John, for having me. It was my pleasure.
Well,
thank you.
You know, I read about you in so many years in those magazines, and here you are on my TV. I gotta say, you don't look like you've aged a day. How do you do it?
That is definitely an illusion.
That's magic in itself. I want whatever
you, John.
you're having. Ladies and gentlemen, Lyn Dillies. If you're interested in looking her up, I will have the links down below in the description of the podcast.
They can go to my website and click on elephants or Your Vote is Magic. You can get to see those illusions I was talking about, and I've done a lot of really cool things with elephants that you want to check out. So magicoflyn.com.
And we'll check you out. All right. Well, thank you so much, and what a pleasure.
Thank you, John.
And God bless you for all your contributions on. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed the show and my special guest, Ms. Lyn Dillies. What a fascinating career and wonderful humanitarian that she is. If you would like to learn more about Lyn and her wonderful career, all links will be supplied down in the box below. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I'm John Marshall. Till the very next time that we meet, God bless you.
Oh, bad. Oh, just bad.